Hello everyone. Today we're going to discuss about starting the big data on Azure platform. So there are multiple options, but the easiest way to start learning big data is by installing HortonWorks Sandbox. So the first step is to log into your Azure Portal. So go to portal.azure.com. So here you can search for the HortonWorks Sandbox. Just type Horton, and in the marketplace you'll see HortonWorks data platform. Click on the one, and let's start with some preset options. So click on the start with preset configuration, and we're going to create a test machine. So select the test machine, and in the workload we have multiple options. We have D series, which is a general purpose machine, or you can set up a machine which is used for memory intense operations, or these type of machines, the F series, where if there are some workloads which are compute intensive, which has a dependency on the CPUs. So in that case you can go with the F series. But here we are not doing any heavy loads, so we just want to set up a test machine with general purpose settings. So continue to create the VM. So if it's the first time, probably you'll see a free tier. Once you're done with the free tier, then you have to use the pay as you go option. So that is what I have. So I'll select my pay as you go subscription, and either you can use one of your existing resource groups, or you can create a new resource group. Resource group is nothing but a collection of different resources within Azure. So what could be a resource? A virtual machine can be a resource. Your HD Insights, Azure Databricks, Azure Data Factory, all these services can be a resource, each one a different resource. So you can group them everything under one resource group. So the grouping itself is called a resource group. Give whatever name you want. Maybe I want to call it as HW resource group. For the virtual machine name, I'll just give the name called HW Sandbox. The region, it's automatically selected based on the region that you're in. I'm in the East Coast, so this is my default. We don't need any redundancy for our data, so I'll keep the default options as is. What else? So for the authentication type, either you can use SSH keys, or you can set up a admin account and a password. So I'll go with this SSH public key. So the default name is Azure user. You can keep that one, or if you want to change it, it's up to you. So either we can generate a new key, or you can use one of the existing keys. So we're going to generate a new key pair. So I'll just keep it the way it is, and give a name whatever you want. I got this name, HW Sandbox key. If I want to change it, I can. Maybe I'll call it a different name. Is the public key. Okay. And in the public inbound ports, I'll just keep it the way it is. So later, once we start the machine, we're going to add some ports. We're going to open some ports. So we'll just leave the options as is. So if you want to configure different settings, you can click on next and select different options. I don't want to do that. I will just review the settings and create the machine. Actually, I would like to change one option here. Okay. before I click on anything, okay, so the only option that I want to change here is the enable auto shutdown. This is very important because most often when we start the machine, we forget to shut it down. So in that case, you'll get charged by hour. So if you turn on the machine and keep it live for like 2 or 3 days, you'll be continuously charged for those 3 days. You don't want to get into those things. So I will try to shut down the machine at 2 a.m. every morning, and the time zone is Eastern time zone. Every time it shut down my machine, I'll get a notification. So I'll just keep it that way. Click on review and create. Okay, validation is passed. Everything looks all right. So let's go ahead and create our machine. Okay, so now we have to download the key that we set up earlier. So click on this option where download private key and create resource. My folder, I'll just keep it here. So our machine is being built. So once it's ready, we'll come back and check. Okay, so now our machine is ready. So click on go to resource. So this is our sandbox. So that is your public IP for the sandbox. Okay, before connecting to the machine, let's open up some ports. Click on add inbound port rule, and in the destination port, we'll give the port 8888. Just give it a name. So that port is being added. Okay, we can see it here, that port is added. And we're gonna add a few more ports. 8080, so that is one more. Okay, these 2 ports for now. That should be enough for now. We'll come back to this again. So go back to the overview, copy your IP address and connect to the port 8888. So that will take you to the starting page of the sandbox. It will give us information about how to connect to the HortonWorks Sandbox. So instead of launching the HortonWorks platform, for now let's start with this option where we can find some quick links. So these are the quick links available to us. So we have the options to connect to Ambari, which is the UI where you can see all the services. Ranger, it's mainly for the authentication. Zeppelin, mainly used for machine learning and data science needs. SSH, to connect to the VM using the SSH client. We are going to do this later. Workflow Manager is mainly for creating, scheduling the OOZIE workflows. Atlas, it is mainly for the data governance. We're not going to discuss much about the data governance. So the 2 things that I'm really interested is, the first thing is I want to connect to the Ambari, and the second thing is I want to log into the machine using SSH. So we already opened the port 8018, so we should be good. So by default, you will get the username and password is raj_ops. So that is what we're going to use to log into that machine. So click on it. So raj_ops, the password is the same, raj_ops. All right. So you can see some of the services which are marked in red. So they are not started yet. The machine is still starting. Not all the services are started. So it's still running. It's only 4%. So let's wait until it is complete. So in the meantime, we can try connecting to the machine using SSH. So let's go back to the route. Okay. So earlier we created a public key. So I can still see it here. Let's go back to that location. So we have created this public key. To connect using the SSH, you need to install PuTTY. So you need to have this app. If you don't have it, just Google and download this thing. Actually, you need two things, which is PuTTY and PuTTYGen. So you need those two tools. So actually, first I'm going to use the PuTTYGen to create a private key. So click on it. So what we need to do is we need to queue the location of this file. Okay, so click on load, point it to our public key. Use the save private key option. Okay, so now we're going to generate a private key. So click on the save private key. That's fine. Give it a name. Maybe I want to call it as a easy private key, which gets the default file type as .ppk. Okay, so we're done with the PuTTY key generator. So this is the file that we're going to use to log into the machine. So the next thing that we're going to use is PuTTY to log into our VM. So what is our host name? Let's go to our sandbox, and if you click on the connect, it will give you different options how you can connect to that machine. So this is how you connect to the machine. So the options that you're seeing here is mainly for connecting through a Linux, but here we are connecting through Windows. So the steps are a little different. But again, we're going to connect to the same machine, which is on this public IP address using the username called Azure user. So copy that part and paste it in your tool. And in the SSH authentication, point to the file that we just created, the ppk file. Okay, so now just click on open. In the meantime, let's see where we stand with our services. Still 53%. Okay. I think we need to wait a little bit before connecting to the machine. So let's give it a few minutes until this machine is fully set up. We'll come back and try to log in using SSH, and also we'll explore different services using the Ambari. Alright, so now we have all the services up and running. So we should be able to connect to these services. So as we already know, we opened certain ports, which is 8080 and 8888. But if you want to open rest of the ports, like 6080, if you want to connect to the Ranger, you need to open this port. To connect to Atlas, Zeppelin, and all these services, you need to open different ports. I believe we have only 3 more ports to open, which is 6080. Let's start with this one, 6080. So the same place, let's go to the networking, add a rule, change it to 6080, give it a name, 6080, and 9995. That rule is still being created. I think it just created. So the next one is 9995. 9995. And we have one more port to open, which is for the Atlas. It's 21,000. Okay, 21,000. Something went wrong, so let's try to create it again. Okay, so we have all those ports open, so we should be able to connect to any of these services. So let's start with the Ranger. Again, alright, so this way you can connect to the Ranger. This is mainly used for access management. So in this course, we're not gonna go through this section. So again, as I said, the only 2 things that I'm really looking at is Ambari and the SSH client. Actually, Zeppelin is also very much useful. So when you log into Zeppelin, you'll have some getting started tutorials. So just go through them. These are very helpful if you want to, if you're a little bit interested in the data science or machine learning kind of stuff. So our Ambari is already open. So here all these services are running. We have Yarn, MapReduce, Hive, OOZIE. So these are all available to use. I'm interested in Hive. So let's click on Hive. Go to the Hive service. So this is where you can connect to the database, create the tables, and also look at the data within those tables. So we already have some default database in that we have 2 sample tables. If you want to access the data, click on execute. And you will be able to see the data within the table. Okay. So one more thing that is left is to connect to the VM using PuTTY. So let's go to our connections, copy the login information. And again, we're gonna point to the PPK file that we generated earlier. Okay, now we are able to connect to that service, hopefully. Okay, we are able to connect to the service and we are in the VM. And to connect to the sandbox, we will follow the steps that we have here. We need to follow the information that we have here. So we are already logged into the machine using the public IP. So to connect to the sandbox, you need to provide the same information, but with a private IP. So you can just mention as localhost. So say SSH root @localhost -p and give the port information. So are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes. And the password for the root that you have here, the password is Hadoop. HAD. Changing current password. Okay, still again type the same password. Okay, now you need to provide a new password. So when you log in for the first time, you need to change the password from Hadoop to something else. Just give whatever you want. Alright, I changed my password, so now I am connected to the HortonWorks Sandbox. So let me clear the screen and we'll try to connect to the local file system. So that's my local file system, and these are the files that I have in my local file system. And also let's check the Hadoop file system. So this is the Hadoop file system. So these are all the files that you have in your in the HDFS. Sorry. We have the local file system and the HDFS file system. So the files that you seeing here, these are from the local file system, and the files that you seeing here, these are a part of your HDFS. So earlier we saw we will be connected to the Hive and we browsed through some database and tables. So where are they actually located? So they are located probably under apps. Yeah, so they are under apps. If you go to Hive and the warehouse, so here you will see these tables, sample 07, sample 08. So those are the same tables that you see here. So that is how you connect to the HortonWorks VM using SSH and also using our Ambari. So we'll continue these sessions. In the next session, we'll create some tables using we'll log into the machine, we'll create some tables, we'll load some data and work using Hive. All right, that's it for now. Thank you.